Hello and welcome to the Voice of Your Passions interview series. I'm Stephanie Bonte-Lebair with the Empowered Voice and Empowered Business Networking, and I am here today with my friend and colleague, Tina Bakehouse. I'm super excited to learn more about what she does and her passion for her business, and I'm going to read a little bit of her bio before we jump in. So Tina is protecting audiences from boring speeches. I love that so much. Tina provides public speaking coaching and communication consulting. With more than 20 years experience teaching communication and theater, a TEDx speaker and coach, Tina is passionate about educating others to become more self-aware and enhance their speaker style. She has 2 bachelor's degrees, one in communication studies and psychology, and the second in theater and English teaching, which I also love. She also has a master's in communication studies. Tina uses her creativity, leadership, and passion for the arts to help people communicate effectively and solve problems. She lives in a 152-year-old family farm in southwest Iowa with her husband, John, and son, Anderson. And I also hear you have some goats.
Oh, yes. Gotta love the goats.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. So I always like to jump in with share your passion. Why are you passionate about what you do?
Stephanie, I've always had a special place in my heart for the arts. I remember as a little girl at 4 years old, just really loving Jim Henson and Walt Disney, the Muppets, all things storytelling and oratory. And so that really drove me to this idea of that the world needs effective communication. And in order to get movements to happen, to advocate change, we have to talk about it. In fact, my husband's passion is soil health. And years ago, he was like, "Why aren't my neighbors asking me about what I'm doing?" I said, "Are you talking about it?" He goes, "No." And that was my aha moment of I really need to be around more heart-centered leaders to help them move their mission forward by sharing their messages and doing so with confidence and clarity.
Yes, I love that. We have passions, but if we don't talk about our passions, no one knows what they are.
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
we can show it, but really that is super abstract. We need to just say it out loud, proclaim it.
Yes, the obvious thing is just say, "Hey, this is what I'm passionate about, and here's
Yes.
why." I love that. Okay, so tell me more about the transformation you provide in your coaching business.
Well, I would say I'm a blend of a consultant and a coach because with my over 20 plus years of education, consulting, teaching, and facilitating workshops for corporate America, as well as college students, I love seeing the growth and transformation in my clients. When they come to me, they come with a couple of issues. One is they have a beautiful heart centered message, a signature talk, or they have that dream of getting on a TED stage and they just don't know how to do it. They don't know how to craft that message in their authentic speaker style. So I help them not only analyze the audience and make a message that hooks and engages and maintains their attention. I also love working with those leaders and CEOs who struggle with communicating their vision for their organization or want some strategic planning with how do we communicate an abstract message in a concrete way and what are those steps, as well as being super laser focused and clear on what do our words actually mean. Just for example, a client said to me the other day, why is my team not buying into my vision? I said, well, what are you saying to them? And she said, if the last sentence she said was, well, I told them, I said, if my vision goes right, this will happen. And I said, okay, you hit a couple of different things. If is self-doubt, and my vision goes right, that's pretty egotistical in terms of arrogance and bravado. So on one big sentence, we need to work on that and go into that inclusive language of when we together move forward with this vision, this is what will happen.
I
That's
love
what I
that.
get excited about.
Yeah, I love the specificity in the words you choose to use because that is also something that I have been learning about the last few years and been pretty passionate about is how can you be more intentional with the words you're choosing to use in order to create what you really want through your communication. So I love
Mm.
that. Can you share a specific success story of an individual that you've supported? I mean, you just did actually kind of give me a little one.
A nugget.
Is there another one that you'd like to share?
Absolutely. I had the privilege of working with Meg Bussing, and she wanted this dream of getting a TEDx talk. And it was
Mm.
actually her board member that knew me through my work with that organization. And they said, work with Tina. And so in our time together, she shared this most beautiful, powerful story, but she was still emotionally attached to it. And that was, she was passionate about being a nurse. And sadly, multiple days into her beautiful new position, she was getting seizures, and not just one or two, but multiple a day. And she was told she could no longer be a nurse. And it just broke her heart. And from that, she said, okay, they're telling me I can't. I can't do this. I can't do that. And she underwent brain surgery. In fact, there's a video of her going through brain surgery, making it through and managing some of those seizures. She still has it occasionally, but not to the degree of 12 a day. And she started Camp You Can. And she thought, I need to talk about this camp that I've created for young adults, for children, for older adults, for everybody in between that gets told you can't ride a horse, you can't shoot hoops, you can't. Because if I can get through this, then anyone can. And our work together, it was first, what was her story? And so it was a lot of psychological in depth going through that healing process of how she felt, where she was with it, and healing that process, because you can't really tell a story if you're super attached to the result, or if you're not ready to know that the consequences are what they are, right? And so we went through that, and it was like, how do we structure this talk? And the big part was, she was also worried about forgetting parts and pieces because of her brain injury and what had
Mm.
happened. And so with that, the progress of not only leaning into what is her temperament, understanding who she is, and then building a structured talk, giving her a speaker ritual of practices and ways in which she could do it. Not only did she land a talk in TEDx Omaha, but her talk got so many hits that it is now on the TED website. So you can check out Meg Bussing, her TED talk. It's a beautiful story. And it also has found more partnerships and support for Camp You Can. So that's why speaking about your passion, it's made more people aware of not only her story, but she cared more about the greater good of making giving opportunities rather to folks who have felt like they can't for so much, and giving them value and knowing that they're enough and that they can lean into the who that they are and participate in activities together and have that support.
Oh my gosh, Tina, there were so many great nuggets about what you just shared on so many different levels. What I was really hearing was, yes, the power of story, which I know is part of your niche and your branding, quite honestly, but the power of your story to heal, right? To be told that you can't, and then to take that and put it into something that creates a force for good, with Camp You Can. And being able to have processed that in some way so that you can tell the story. Because you're right, if you're too triggered or you're too emotionally attached to your own story, it can be very hard to deliver that. And if you're doing a TEDx talk, I imagine, you all have to work through some of that emotional stuff. And then that piece about her own fear about forgetting what she would say, which I think is a fear all of us have on some level. I can't even imagine if you have a fear with brain injury, that how that would really compound it and make it even more potentially triggering. So I love that you supported her through that. And I have a follow-up question, which is, how does someone know that they are ready for a TEDx talk or a TED talk?
Well, I believe that your passion leads the communication. And when you have something that you just can't stop thinking about, reading about, talking about, and you're feeling deeply that it's a big idea worth sharing, and everybody has an idea worth sharing, not, and it could be at any realm, that's when you need to step in and lean into that potential to share that message. Frankly, for me, years ago, I actually had the opportunity to do a TEDx talk, and it was a rigorous process. And it took me a little bit of time even to say, oh, I have something worth sharing. I think everybody goes through that. It's worrisome that, oh, that's egotistical, but really no, everybody wants to hear a story, wants to learn from the journey that you have learned from and have grown from, and maybe what has it done to transform. So I'd say soul search, especially if you've written a book, you should be talking about some of those concepts in the book to help others because they probably struggled in some way, shape, or form in that same arena. Or if you're like one other client of mine who's a farmer in ag business and cares about feeding the world, and it's he decided, this isn't necessarily to grow my business, but it's to help others understand and be aware of what is going on and what is relevant to them in agriculture so that so we together can make positive policy changes. You got to get the word out there. So if you're wanting to make better change in the world, helping others, educating others, then you should land a TED Talk
I
and do
love
it.
that. I
Just
love
do
how
it.
you can frame it if you wanna make change in the world. So it's not necessarily that you have to have a business or that you want it to be able to grow your business, but
Right.
that you want to facilitate change. And
Yes.
that is a passionate way to hook in to your story and to be motivated to share it. And, I myself have never done a TEDx talk or a TED Talk, but I wrote my own show because I just felt like there was something there that I needed to share. And it wasn't necessarily to make more money in my business. It was because I was passionate about sharing my version of my story in the way that works
Mhm.
for me, which was through song. So I
Mhm.
love, I love the similarities and the connections there. It can also be a talk that you just, you're able to express yourself in a way that works for you. So I love that. Do you have a tip for us that you would like to share?
Absolutely. Not terribly long ago, I watched an interview that the former evening talk show host, David Letterman, had with Ellen DeGeneres. And she said something that stuck with me. He was asking her, "Why are you going back to stand up? I mean, that was where you started. You have this show, this talk show, you've done movies. Why go back to stand up?" And she looked at him with a pause and said, "Because, David, I need to do something that scares me." So,
Mm.
my advice for entrepreneurs is do something that scares you almost every day. And it could be something small. For me, it might be picking up the phone and talking to a former client that I haven't talked to in 5 years. And in fact, I did that not terribly long ago, and it landed me some amazing work. That it was just that serendipitous, well, just go with that gut feeling. Or do a Facebook or a LinkedIn Live where you're just talking about your story, something vulnerable. Do something that scares you because guess what? Only growth happens if you stretch yourself. And there is actual research that shows, especially when it comes to creativity, problem solving, and language skills, that the more that you improvise and you get yourself just a little bit afraid, the more you're stretching your brain and your brain is actually gaining new neurons. So that's what I would encourage you to do is stretch yourself, do something that scares you. And what I'm also doing this year is something that scares me is I signed up for a 1 year book writing project as well as an emotional intelligence deep dive course for myself because I thought those are things that I can use to support my growth and my clients as they are choosing to continue to anchor in their own confidence and be the magnetic speakers that they are.
I love it. And from the perspective of an entrepreneur, there are so many opportunities to be a little bit scared.
Oh my goodness, technology could go awry. We were testing the
Yeah.
technology here and going, can you hear me now? I mean, there's just so many different things that can go awry, but giving yourself grace, that's also, I would say, another second sneaky tip is in addition to scaring yourself every day just a little bit, is giving yourself a ton of grace all the time because I have found there have been some wanky tech issues. And if you can laugh at yourself and say, this is part of feedback and growth, that is what it's all about. And people are
Yes,
human and there's no such thing as perfect. There's just learning,
that's so
growing, and
true.
stretching.
That's so true, and I think resilience is one of those key strengths that we can be building through putting ourselves in situations that are maybe outside of our comfort zone, especially also when things maybe go a little bit different than you thought they were going to go.
Mhm.
So, I love that. Can you tell us about the gift that you would like to give everyone today?
Absolutely. I would love to share a beautiful confidence mindset packet that kind of walks you through some wonderful strategies and just some things to ask yourself to get you to that next level to be a magnetic communicator. Because to me, confidence needs to show up not only when you're on stage, if you want to do a keynote or TED talk, but also when you are facilitating a meeting or showing up to that networking event to help you grow and scale your business, or just to make connections, because human connection happens through confidence. And I'm willing to also add a 15-minute conversation with me where I can give you a strategy that will help you with your next communication goal, whatever that may be.
I love it. So if you're interested in this confidence package from Tina, do a hashtag confidence in the comments below the video, and then Tina will reach out to you directly with how to get your gift. So thank you so much,
Wonderful.
Tina. I always appreciate chatting with you, and because we are both communication people and theater people, and we love the performing arts, so I'm always happy to connect with you and get your perspective on how you take that and put it into the world. I want to invite everyone who is watching this call, if you'd like to meet Tina or anyone else who is cool like Tina, which I happen to know quite a few of them, you can come
Super cool.
visit Empowered Business Networking. Just go to ebnnetworking.com and check out when our next event is happening. Sign up, come meet us. We are from all over the United States, Canada, and beyond, and growing. So we are happy to, we've attracted a lot of coaches, speakers, marketing professionals, and financial services and health people. So those are kind of the buckets that we attract. So if you find yourself in any of those, your visit will be well worth your time. So with that, thank you, Tina, for this interview. We will see you soon on the next Voice of Your Passions interview series, and have a good day.
Thanks, Stephanie.